contextual information that we were able to obtain with the project is it was to answer why was the system created in the first place. And this remote viewing data points to the system on Earth and that it's just one tiny component in a much larger system. It's minuscule. It's a much, much larger operation. And it describes that we are part of a funnel, and it's a slough or a state of moral degradation or spiritual dejection in a manner, and that the system encircles us and that its proponents have cast a wide net, not just here on this planet. And the advocates, or the torchbearers of this system, they, whether or not it's exactly these things, again, it's the viewer's vocabulary, I really have to stress this, so it's like this, but those who advocate and perpetuate this system, the closest vocabulary in the viewer's own words is that these things are like demons. And so they're not real wonderful things. Again, the previous work of like, well, what's feeding on the intelligence during this extraction process that then fractures the individual, the soul, and then sends them back. It's something parasitic, something that's twisted and warped. But the work describes that they have put man in this cage, the mind in this cage, and that wars of men, anarchy, destruction, societal overthrows, cyclical revolutions that occur down here all fuel the system that actually keeps us entrapped. And so the unstable, this goes back to and reinforces the idea of the alchemical process of this all, of the stew that's created down here, the uncertainty, the mayhem, because there's just far too many people here on this planet, is that's intended because it creates the chaos that feeds into the system that powers it. And so when pinpointing in the remote viewing work the energetic activity that's occurring when a soul dies, it gets caught up in the system and then it's sent back, it appears that a part of them is chipped off and then carried off somewhere else. And so it's extracted. Again, this is the honey that's then taken from the bees. And when you view this space, you get a couple, first you get the sound and you get voices, and it's just, there's many voices that are kind of caught in this system, and it's a drowning out sound. It's all incoherent talk. That's when you're describing this. It's a limbo state that's occurring. And these aspects that are chipped off are described as ghosts, so chipped off of the soul. They're described as ghosts, and they're shells of what they used to be. These are aspects of the soul that have been drained up and used, and an overwhelming melancholy and sadness is associated with these remnants. This is what's split apart and fractured off when the soul becomes enslaved. They're bundled up like a collection of twigs, and they're used as kindling. The viewer described it as just a massive amount of injustice. But the purpose, why the system was created, is that it acts as what's being chipped off every time someone reincarnates, what's being taken, is being used as kindling. It's a type of fuel that feeds a different system that doesn't have anything to do with here. So we're in a way part of an engine, one tiny piece, or one engine that feeds back into a power plant. So the purpose of the system is kind of analogous to, we're on a railway system, and that railway system, which is a railway of conquest, outer expansion, requires energy. It requires oil or grease to pad the railway to continue the constant outer expansion, and that without this energy would be unable to do so. And so it needs oil to burn to travel across these large, massive expanses. But it's more than that too, because it's not just the traveling that requires the energy input or even the conquest, but it's also what is creating a space or an environment for those that are in charge of this operation to pop in and out anywhere they want along this line, along this chain. And so ultimately, though, all these roads, if you will, lead back to Rome. There's like a central one that exists in that this energy is then powering this massive system.